Hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers here from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and one of the MCs here at Gold. And with me today is Sonya Boersma. Welcome, Sonya.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely to have you here at Gold. You are, of course, one of our speakers at the GOLD Lactation Online Conference that's coming up really quickly here soon. It's just around the corner. We get started April 3rd. But before we jump into that and the topic you will be presenting on, first of all, tell us, where in the world are you, Sonya?
I'm in Canada, in Canada's capital, in Ottawa. It's nice and snowy right now, but we won't have snow much longer.
That sounds absolutely fabulous. Beautiful and snowy there in Ottawa, Canada. Now, Sonya, you, of course, are in IBCLC, speaking at the Lactation Conference, and you have quite an extensive background. So tell our viewers a little bit about you, your professional background and your journey and what you're working on nowadays.
I have been working with breastfeeding moms and new parents for a very long time, along the whole perinatal spectrum as a doula, prenatal educator, birth doula, public health nurse, educating physicians and midwives and new nurses, all kinds of things all along the spectrum. And I've worked up north and down south. This is the south. And and I've done provincial work too, where I've especially worked with a bunch of topics, including informed decision making. Right now, what I'm doing is working in independent practice with lactation care, seeing parents loving it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. You mentioned there a keyword, informed decision making. That, of course, is your topic, informed decision making, gaining skills and confidence with tricky conversations. Whew, there's a lot, and it's going to be interactive as well. So love the topic about informed decision making. And you mentioned also you're teaching, or you have taught workshops about the topic. So you're really an expert in this. As a healthcare professional myself, informed decision is making or giving informed choices is so important. And that's what we are passionate about when we come to this field. That's what, we want to make sure that our families that we serve have that opportunity. But a lot can go wrong in this, right? And I have to tell you, I've caught myself unintentionally doing something that I thought I would never do, leading, parents into a certain direction that I didn't even, I'm so passionate about, like, just giving you an example of, unmedicated birth, that I see myself kind of, educating, but also, going into that one direction. And I feel like, no, Kristen, you have to do better. You have to really make sure that you're really serving the families in a way that is, right for them. And so they can make the informed choice that works for them and their family. Do you see that a lot, that, you see people with good intentions out there in the field, and they think they're doing the right thing and giving all that information, but still things are tricky and not the way they should be?
They are tricky because really what we're doing is we're not having a set formula, right? We're sort of dancing in a conversation.
Yeah.
And that is tricky. And every dance is different with every scenario and every parent. And it is a very tricky thing to do. It's something that I'm always learning too. And I'm always evaluating, going, oh, I could have done that a little bit differently. And it is not the easiest thing for a lot of people. And it's also very challenging when people need to provide the evidence, knowing that the family might be heading a different direction.
Right.
Yeah, it's very challenging.
Very, very challenging. And it's always, I feel like this is a topic where you never stop learning, right? I mean, I feel like no matter how good we are at what we do and how much we know, I feel like there's always, more to come and more to encounter, because situation changes, families change, and things move on and move in different directions. So I feel like this is like an ongoing topic we all should look into and keep learning.
Absolutely. We know from the literature that it's actually poorly implemented. And that's because it just takes a lot of time and practice and more practice. And we can always reflect and do more and do differently or do better or catch ourselves like you did and I've done that. And so yes, it is something that it's a lifelong learning thing. It's not like you just learned your alphabet and you've got it.
Oh yeah, you made a good point there. You talked about time, and that gave me or remembered an argument that you often hear, and you probably have heard that too. Oh, that all sounds good, but I have such a full schedule. I see so many people. I'm working in a busy hospital. I need to give them the information, but I really don't have time to give them all the evidence and all that information. And, the safety of the baby is the most important. So let's focus on that. And how can we, accomplish that by, for example, giving formula and things like that, right? So you hear that argument probably a lot too. How can we do our best giving the tools for informed decision making, even if the schedule is so cramped?
Yeah, that again is a dance in the conversation, right? We may have to start this while we're doing a blood pressure check, or straightening out a bed, that you might have to do a little bit of multitasking, and in a more critical moment, just sit down and stop and ask. So I'm thinking that the participants are going to come up with some strategies as well, but you can't ignore it. You're not also going to give a 1-hour lecture on the pros and cons, right? Well, first of all, it's not even a lecture format. We're encouraging conversation. However, it's not going to be an hour long. We're not going to have that, but we can do an awful lot in 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's things we can do, and even in a short amount of time, for sure. Yeah. And also, by the way, what I mentioned before with giving formula, that was not in any shape or form like advocating for giving formula. It was just an example of like what we might hear from other care providers in the being on a tight schedule. So please don't see that as one or the other way of influencing anybody. But so we are on a tight schedule, but there is still ways of having a good conversation and giving the information and being open to learning what the family also really needs. I think it also comes down to really listening. Is that how would you describe it?
Absolutely. It's in the past, I think we had a bit of a paternalistic approach. We just, spit out a bunch of information. It's like, and this is probably what you're going to do. But now we're talking more about a conversation. Absolutely. And that requires a lot of listening, understanding where they're coming from, what are their goals, what were their original goals. And without knowing all that, we can't really help the family that much. And if in some situations, they're going to need to decide right now. And in other situations, they've got time, or you can buy time, right? So that might influence how we approach the conversation as well.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, there are some situations where they don't need to make a decision right here, right now. So there is a little bit of time where they can really take their time, and we don't need to push for in any way, shape, or form to get them to make a decision, and maybe reminding them you have that time. You can consider that as well. What I love about the presentation, it's actually more a workshop that you're giving here at GOLD. It's absolutely love it, because you will have some videos there, you will have some scenarios, some case studies, cases there actually where you see an actual family, and you'll talk about our viewers will be able to be engaged in this conversation with interactive elements, and you give them a little pre-homework as well, right? So they can prepare for the presentation and for the workshop. So this is actually something they can take with them into their practice and implement basically right away after watching the workshop or being part of it, right?
Absolutely. They can take pieces of it. And you know what? I think it's the type of thing you'll need to revisit, because we're not all instantly going to do everything all at once. And not only that, but if they wanted to take it back to their workplace and give snippets to their colleagues, they could do that too, and sort of help augment practice around them.
Yeah, love it. And you will also give so many wonderful resources that you make available, and that for further study looking into, because as you mentioned, we only have an hour together, right? So there is many things for our viewers to check in and check out and look into further. I really absolutely love it and look forward to it. Earlier on, you mentioned also, that was off camera, that you also have a class, a course. And I want to talk a little bit about that before I let you go, because I think it's also important to mention your engagement there as well.
Yeah, as a person in independent practice, I see some of the population who's earlier after birth, so they have wee little ones, see a lot of the same issues over and over. And to prevent that, I did develop a prenatal breastfeeding course that's evergreen online, take at your own pace, to try to prevent some of those issues from happening and to totally empower people so that they know what they're doing. When parents say, oh, you know what, I'll figure it out after the birth, they've already missed a little crucial window, right? If we want to build milk supply, we want to imprint, what the baby's to do. And so, yeah, I started this, I have this prenatal class that's available on my website, Lactation Care.
Fantastic. That's good. It's another way to learn, to check out what you're doing and educate. Is it also for care providers, or would you say this is more for families as a resource?
It is a bit more geared to families, but I actually think that care providers would really benefit from it. I'm working with a mentee right now who's taking it and learning a lot. And I do think it's fantastic for people to get a nice baseline of what can be taught in advance. So people go in with confidence and knowledge to know what they're doing so much more and what's important to them. I mean, they might discover what's important to them through that whole process as well, which is great.
That's fantastic. Sounds absolutely fabulous. Well, Sonya, it was lovely sitting here with you, chatting about the amazing work you're doing and also about your workshop here at GOLD for the GOLD Lactation Conference. Can't wait for it. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Thanks so much.
And for our viewers, if you would like to find out more about this program here, the GOLD Lactation Online Conference, and of course, Sonya's interactive session titled Informed Decision Making, Gaining Skills and Confidence with Tricky Conversations, make sure to visit goldlactation.com. There you will find all the information about this session and all the other beautiful sessions that we have as part of the conference. And we get started with the conference here on April 3rd. We have our first keynote presentation. Sonya's presentation will be live April 25th. You can check all that out on the website, goldlactation.com. So thank you again, Sonya, for being here with me today. And thank you to everyone for watching and participating with us. And I hope to see you all at the conference. Bye-bye, everyone.